Good morning, welcome to Chamber Live, and today it's our rush hour event, East Lancashire's long established networking group. The views expressed in this webinar don't necessarily represent the views of the East Lancs Chamber of Commerce, but we agree with Rachel all the time. And all the facts were believed to be correct at the time of recording, which is the 16th of September 2020. So before we break out into our rush hour networking, we're going to get some tips on how to make the most out of online networking. And to do that, I'm delighted to welcome Lancashire's Queen of Networking, Rachel Kay. Rachel is the Director of Lancashire-based Love Local Networking. She's run hundreds of live events, offline and online, including networking events, speaker sessions, panel events, and of course, her world-famous expo. She also trains business folks in the dark arts of networking, communicating and relationship building, and she's going to entertain and educate us this morning. Over to you, Rachel.
Thank you very much, Simon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to everybody, and good morning, everybody. So virtual networking is probably around to stay, at least for a little while longer. It's a very efficient use of time. There's no travel involved, so a 60-minute event, is an hour of your time, but it's still a valuable hour of your business time you could be spending doing something else. So you need to make sure you're getting the maximum out of it. So my top 10 tips of virtual networking I'll share today. They're a bite-sized guide, how you can spark interest in your business, build relationships quickly, keep your new connections alive, and get the most out of the meetings you attend. So we'll look at the mechanics and technology behind it and the etiquette of Zooming. Other platforms are available. So I've got a presentation that I'll show you today. Lots of top tips on there. As Simon said, if you've got any questions, please do ask me at the end, or pop them in the chat box as we go along. So I'm just going to be staring at the computer for a sec while I get the presentation up, so just bear with me. Right, here we go. So top 10 tips for virtual networking. So the first one, technical considerations. If your PC is prone to crashing or dropping off the internet, then make sure you close all your applications, so it should stop it doing that. Switch off any notifications. So if you've got notifications pinging up, or your phone's ringing or something like that, it's going to interrupt you. It might interrupt other people as well. So just make sure your notifications are switched off. If the battery might not last of whatever you're using, so your laptop or whatever tech, then do plug it in. You don't want to disappear during your 60 seconds of fame. And check you're not muted. Check your computer isn't on mute, because sometimes your video might show as being connected, but people might not be able to hear you, so just make sure your computer is unmuted. So once you're on the call, once you're on the video call, check that your video and your audio are working, so you should be able to see yourself on the screen somewhere, and people should be able to hear you. If not, get up the settings, sort that out. Change your screen name. So change your name to sort of Rachel Kay, Love Local Networking. I don't think I did it this morning, so do as I say, not as I do. So when you're on screen, if people are watching it in full screen view, they'll see your name, they'll see your business name when you're doing your networking piece, so it's more effective. Keep yourself on mute when you're not speaking. It just means if there's any noise around you, then that won't be heard by everybody else. And find the chat box. So use the chat box to share your details with people and download it at the end. So body language. Body language, very important. So offline studies have shown that in human interaction, the words we say only account for 7% of meaning. So most of the meaning is taken from non-verbal communication. So our expression, how we speak, our tone of voice, our body language. So that's 93% of what meaning is understood from what we say. So if you're watching in gallery view, so if you're watching all little videos of people while you're networking, it's very tempting to talk to your screen. So you're talking down, you're talking out to little people, but don't do that. So this is how it looks if you're talking to the screen. So you're looking down, you're not making eye contact. So the best thing to do is talk into the camera. So if you talk into the camera, and if you're smiling and you're making eye contact, you're building rapport with everyone else on the call. So smiling makes us feel more relaxed. It makes the people we're talking to feel more relaxed, makes them more receptive, and it makes people feel happy. So here we go, smiling into the camera. So if it feels odd talking into the camera, So, you know, you might have a webcam that might be further up the computer. You might be talking into your webcam on the screen. If it feels odd, then just practice it. So, strike a pose, talking about the camera. So, do you know what you look like full screen when you're networking? You know, your mini screen might be absolutely fine. You might look decent resolution, but the full screen, if people are watching in full screen mode, might be a different story. You can check this by creating a Zoom account. If you don't already have one, it's free. Set up an online meeting and then put yourself full screen, and what you see is what everybody else sees. So check the resolution. You know, are you low resolution? So if we look at this, it's laptop screen, webcam, and my separate webcam that I'm using now for the event. So on the laptop cam, I'm quite sort of pixelated, it's lower resolution. On the webcam, higher resolution, and you can see me clearly, which is much better for engagement. So when you're testing as well, when you're looking at yourself on the screen on this test call, check your lip sync. So talk to yourself. Is the lip sync right, or are you out? If you move about, if you talk with your hands, check that. Are your hands moving normally, or is there some kind of ninja movie lag going on? If you're low res, or there's a ninja lag, or your lip sync's out, consider getting a new webcam, because that's going to look better. You're going to look better when you're full screen networking. So strike a pose 2. So head and shoulders should be in the frame. So ta-da, head and shoulders again. Same one again, smiling away. So your head and shoulders are in the frame, maximum engagement, nice big face, nice eye contact. If you're peeking out the bottom of the screen, not ideal. I've seen it's like that on some calls. Nobody was like that today though. Or if you're massive close up, then that's not ideal either. As also, it's better to have the camera level with your face, if at all possible. So if you've got a separate webcam, you know, maybe bring it up a bit so it's level. A laptop webcam is always going to be staring up at you. If you look at, again, at the laptop cam on the left, I've got a few more chins going on than on the right. You know, it's all right, but it is better kind of to have a camera looking straight at you. If you're using a laptop, a cheap and cheerful way of doing that is just to pop it on a box or a couple of books underneath it, and that'll raise it up, as long as you're not using the keyboard a lot during that, and that's a cheap and cheerful way to do it. Okay, so setting the scene, so thinking about the environment and what's around you, because you're on video so people can see kind of what's going on. So make sure you're well lit. So if you're sat with a source of light behind you, then you can end up looking like you're in a witness protection program. You know, people can't see you. So unless you actually are, you really want people to be able to recognize you, and you want to make that eye contact and engage with people. So if you can, if you're kind of mobile, then move to a different area of the room, or a different room, a different office, that kind of thing. Or maybe draw the blinds and use a light source to illuminate you a bit so you don't look too dark. Again, people don't look like that today on the call, but if people are, then you're missing out on engagement. So stay on mute to avoid local noise. So the conference software can end up picking people up. So if somebody's saying in 60 seconds, they pause for breath, you're eating a cake and you've dropped your fork, then you might come on screen, face full of cake, not ideal. So if you keep yourself on mute, you avoid any local noise being shared, that's great. This has come up already. So discourage cameo appearances. So telling anybody else who's in the house, in the office, that you're going to be on networking, or maybe even, you know, I'm on in 1 minute, and trying to discourage them from walking across. I'm sure we've all had cameo appearances, anybody that's been on a networking video call, but ideally you'd avoid it. So uncluttered background. The more fussy your background, the more people might be looking at the stuff behind you. So a really simple uncluttered background is best. So there's me with a very messy background there, cat litter tray on one side, stuffed tiger, general tat. So if I'm talking and I've got all that there, people are likely to be checking the background out, not me. And you want 100% of the focus to be on you. Now, As Simon was saying earlier, if you're on earlier, you can use or you can upload an artificial background. So in your Zoom settings, which quite far down, there's a lot of Zoom settings, you can choose to be against sort of beautiful beach, or the Golden Gate Bridge is another popular one, or you can upload your own. You can even create a branded backdrop. So as Simon had earlier, if anyone saw it before, he had to switch computers, the ChamberLIVE behind it, you can create a branded backdrop. So you can upload those. So if you upload it, and if you're using one, then test it. You know, go into a test session, check the resolution's good, check it's not too fussy, check it works properly. What you can do as well, what can end up happening, if you wave your arms around, if you talk with your hands, you can end up merging with that background. It's just a sort of how the software works, it gets a bit confused. So if you talk with your hands, you move about a lot, you can end up looking like the creature from the Black Lagoon, which isn't a brilliant look. So backgrounds are brilliant if you're going to stay fairly still. If not, maybe consider not using one. So audio on a call. So as long as you're somewhere near your microphone, it should pick you up really well. If you're sat quite a way away from the microphone, you're going to be really quiet. So have a think of that. You probably need to ask somebody how you are on that. Ask somebody how it sounds, because sometimes people come on calls and they're very quiet. You have to strain in to hear. So if it's difficult to hear, you might be missing things people are saying if they're not anywhere near the mic. Audio only. Now, for sessions like this, when you're listening to a presentation at first, you know, you might just join audio only. But if you're joining a virtual networking event in general with audio only, it's seriously reduced engagement there. You know, think of the 93% of the body language, you know, the meaning, think of the rapport you're creating by looking at people. Audio only isn't great for that. Now, if you're joining audio only because you're camera shy, then practice it. Practice video calling. Call your friends, call your family, just practice it, get comfortable with it, because it's so much better to actually be part of the event on video. If you don't have a webcam, if your tech's really old so you don't have a webcam, or you've got microphone issues with your tech, meaning you know you can't actually say anything so nobody can hear you, then get a webcam, get a separate webcam. They started at about £30, going upwards. Apparently they've tripled in price since lockdown and the pandemic. Funny that. But you can still buy them for about £30 upwards. If you are going to be doing important client meetings or online training or anything like that, you can get HD webcams, and they're probably worth the weight in gold. So you know, it's worth looking at getting a webcam. So we've talked about that. We've talked about setting the scene. Now, I'm going to think about who you want to meet when you're networking. So this applies to virtual networking or live networking, any kind of networking. There's three sets of people to identify here. So, potential customers. So a business or an individual who's in the market for your products or your services, either on a business or a personal footing. That should say potential suppliers. Well done, me. So potential suppliers. So a business that you need the services of. You're out networking. You're hoping the folks on the call will connect and perhaps do business with you at some point. So consider giving them business. You know, what do you need? So that's potential suppliers again, not potential clients. And potential collaborators. So a business that offers similar or complementary services to you. You know, they might well have an audience or a client base that you can tap into, you know, and they can tap into yours, you know, when you've built a relationship, of course. If you haven't already thought about those three sets of people, then give it some thought. It'll help you get a lot more out of networking. And a seasoned networker will have eyes and ears open for all the above on behalf of their contacts too. So, crafting the perfect pitch, you know, for online or offline. I'm using the word pitch. We don't really want to be pitching at people, but it's kind of the best word to use, really. So, if we're thinking about pitches, you know, people have a tendency to use the pitch time to share facts, factual information about what they do, the nuts and bolts of their offer. Think about pitches or TV adverts that grab your attention. You know, they take you on a journey, show you how wonderful life can be if you buy their product, or how awful it might be if you don't. So, and the client needs to know what is in it for them, you know, rather than sharing facts, you know, what's in it for them? What are they going to get out of it? What's the bottom line benefit of using your product? You know, what's it going to do for them? So the best way to do this, the best way to tell us about this is by telling a story. Tell a story, educate us about how you can help us, you know, what problem you can solve. You know, we like listening to stories, we love sharing them, especially if we can relate to them. And we love impressive numbers as well. So if there's some impressive statistics, put them in. So for example, you know, if you're a web designer, share that your client, Ted's Sheds, old website, only got 100 visits and 1 order per month. Since the new site went live, they're now getting 3,000 visits and 100 orders per month. And they've taken on 2 new employees as a result of it. You know, wow, that's the bottom line benefit, isn't it? They've got loads of new orders, turnover's obviously up, they're growing, and it's all down to a whizzy new website. It's a great story, it's impressive stats, and you can bet it's going to be shared. You know, the better the story, again, the more it will be shared, the more people will be interested in it, inspired by it. And you might be thinking, God, I'm not sure I can share something that's going to be like that for people. Well, if you are not sure what problem you solve for people, you know, if you haven't really thought about that, or you're not sure and you're more commonly sharing facts about it, or you don't know the bottom line benefits of what you do, your product or service, ask your clients. You know, ask your clients, ask them why they chose you, what problems you solve for them. You know, what were their bottom line benefits of using you? So use your clients to find this out, because it might not be apparent to you. And then use the stories that they share. You know, use them in your pitches, use them in your marketing, on your website, for testimonials. It's worth asking permission of them. You know, you do need to ask permission. In your pitch time as well, you know, you don't have to share a story particular. You know, you can share what challenges you're having. You know, you can ask for help. Opening up to people brings them on side. People will want to help you. You know, you can offer help and support too. You know, you could offer a free web, if you're a web designer, as earlier, you know, you could offer a free website review for anyone who's not touched the site in a couple of years. Also, ask people to do things. You know, ask people to connect with you. Ask people to like your Facebook page. Actually asking them can make them think, oh, yeah, oh, okay, I will do that, great. And if you're after a specific connection, then ask for it. You know, if you want to speak to the financial director of Birds Biscuits, for example, then, you know, ask people on the call and ask them if they'll help you out and connect you up. And they might well do that. So we're pitching, we're talking, we're getting our message across. But listening. Listening is the most important networking skill, and one that's worth employing wherever you are, whatever you're doing. You know, pay close attention to people's pitches, to what they're saying, to the challenges, the needs. Do they fall into one of the 3 key categories? So potential clients, suppliers, collaborators, you know, for you or for someone else. You know, if it's a 2-way conversation, then you can employ active listening. So you're asking questions, you know, showing an interest and fact finding, really learning about people. You know, if it's not, if it's kind of going around the room and you get 60 seconds each, then make sure you're taking notes. You know, taking notes on people's businesses, anything they mention, sort of personal stuff, write it down. Write down the challenges they're looking for. Then you can see if you've got any synergy with them. You can see if you can help them. Download the chat box as well. So the chat box can be downloaded by anybody on the call. So when people are sharing info, you've got that as well. So that's a very effective listening tool, effectively. So you can use the notes, you can use the chat box when you're following up, which we'll come on to shortly. If you do a lot of virtual networking or conference calls, it's very tempting to multitask. So you've said you're a bit, You know, you pop yourself on mute, you get on with something else. But once you stop listening, you start missing out. You know, you could miss a great opportunity for you or one of your contacts. Which brings us on to virtual networking etiquette. So, multitasking. Like I say, it can be tempting to multitask. You know, you decide to write an email, you finish a pitch, so you know that's you over with. You'll take or you'll make a call, or you might even wander off and make a brew. If folks are watching in gallery view, as I do, they'll know you're not paying attention. So how would you feel if you're the one talking to an empty chair or to somebody who's clearly talking away to somebody else on another call? You know they're not listening. It's much more respectful to listen to everyone, and you're not going to miss anything either. So don't be tempted to multitask. We mentioned it earlier, but switch notifications off and put your phone on silent. So if you're telling people about your business, you're sharing a story, you're really excited, it's just going to get distracting for people if you've got notifications pinging up, if your phone's going off, that kind of thing. So it's best to switch them off. Join virtual networking meetings early. So if you join in 5 minutes early, for example, it's good practice, and it means you won't be late if you've then got technical problems getting on. It gives you a few minutes to get on and be there at the start. You know, often you'll just be in a waiting room and you can get on with other tasks. If you get delayed and then you have to join late, just acknowledge that when saying your piece. Just say, oh, sorry, something happened, that kind of thing. Just acknowledge it. And stick to allotted pitch time. So whether you've got the chance to speak to the whole room and you're doing 60 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever it is, or you're in a Zoom room, a good host will have said to you, okay, right, you've each got, say, 2 minutes. So, you know, try and stick to that, because if you start going on, you're going into other people's time, and people might be thinking, oh, they're going on a bit. So this rapport you're building kind of ebbs away. So better to stick to it. Now, kind of on a sort of etiquette side, but on a more important side as well, something that's exceptionally important in networking, and if you're not doing this, there's no point networking, is following up. 80% of people apparently don't do that. They don't follow up after networking, you know, live or online. So following up is the first step to building a potentially lucrative relationship. You've got to make time to do it. So when you put a networking event in your diary, pencil in an hour to follow up afterwards. You know, maybe directly afterwards, but definitely within the next couple of working days. If you schedule follow-up time in your diary, it's there. If you don't need it, you know, that's fine. It's so easy to connect up now. It's so easy to follow up. You know, connect up with LinkedIn, like people's Facebook page, follow them on social channels. It's really easy to do. Send out a, you know, it was great to meet you email. If you've got details, you know, about people that you've taken down in the chat, about challenges they're having, something they're looking for, then personalize the email. You know, for example, oh, I've asked a few of my contacts whether they know the FD of Burt's Biscuits, and I'll let you know. You know, it shows you were listening. It shows you're bothered, and it will make the reader of the email, you know, your new connection, feel valued. So it's great to personalize them. If you're sending multiple emails to event attendees and you're copying and pasting content at all, but changing names and personal details, do remember to do that. Then make like Father Christmas and check the emails twice. People who've called me Steve on follow-up emails generally don't fare too well after that. You know, get people's names right, get the personal details right. If you've promised you'll do something on the call, do it. So if you said, oh, Sally, I'll send you some follow-up info on that, or, oh yeah, I can connect you to such a body, then, you know, do it. It's the start of a relationship. If you do something you promise to do, that's great. If you don't, that's just not going to go anywhere at all. If there's a lot of synergy, suggest a virtual or even a live coffee now. You know, get together for one-to-one with that person. So you can build on that. You know, if you've hit it off on virtual networking, you know, go for it. Don't be afraid to ask. Now, However you follow up, make sure you keep the conversation going. That's important as well. It's as easy as commenting on people's social media, or sharing posts is even better. Dropping them a direct message, or sending them oh, I saw this and thought it might help your email. If you don't follow up, you can't keep in touch, and you won't build relationships. And building relationships and helping people is number 10. It's what networking is all about. So networking is, it's a key part of your marketing plan. If you haven't seen it as that before, then you kind of really need to. So it's about building relationships. It's about investing time and energy into building relationships. People buy people. So it's like farming. We're sowing seeds of likability and connectability with fellow attendees. Then we're nurturing the seeds by helping them grow. We're helping them grow by following up, keeping conversations going, and by supporting and helping each other. Your hope and your connections are going to use and recommend you. So make sure you're using and recommending them where you can. And make sure you're looking out for opportunities for others too. So you should always be looking out for opportunities for yourself and listening out. So make sure you're doing that for your contacts as well. So doing all that, just for on to that, doing all that will make sure you stay top of mind in your client's world, and they'll want to do the same for you. And your relationships are going to strengthen and blossom. So as it says on that, networking is also, a place to share ideas and best practice. It goes beyond making new connections. And that goes for virtual networking as well. It's an opportunity to listen to new ideas, to get support, share best practice as mentioned, and save time by not reinventing the wheel, because you're finding out things that people are doing that will help you. People can say, oh yeah, you can get support from here, from there, signpost people. So it's a great way to do that as well. Business can be a lonely place, more so recently. Virtual networking is a great way to connect or reconnect. And you know why? Because together we're stronger. So thank you very much. Okay, I'll come back to me. Stop share. Hello, back in the room. So I hope people found that useful. Does anybody have any questions? Let's look at the chat box. Yeah, nothing there yet. Any questions at all, anybody? Do take yourselves off mute and ask. Have I covered everything? Hurrah! So.
Rachel, can I just ask, it's Nadine. I'm very new at doing the, we're only allowed to really use Teams, not Zoom,
Right.
Because of working with the college. When you were saying about downloading the chat box, how do you do that? Because I've never done that before.
I don't know on Teams, Nadine. Can you see a chat box?
I'm on Zoom now, obviously, but yeah, we do have a chat box on Teams as well.
Right. Yeah. Just if you go and click on the chat box. Oh, maybe we can't on here. Have you got that disabled on here, Debbie?
No.
Maybe it's right at the top. So if everybody clicks on the chat box now, if you go down and click on the chat box, and where it says type message here on it, and above it says to everyone, then
yeah.
if you look to the right, there's 3 little dots there. Can you see the 3 little dots? If you click on that, it says at the top, save chat.
No, I haven't got that on mine.
You haven't got it?
Is it because I'm on an iPad? Would that make a difference?
Right.
Can somebody else check? Just to check, I'm on a laptop, but it might be because we're hosts.
No, I've got it.
I've got it.
It's where it says to the person, and you've got 3 dots. You click on the 3 dots, and then you get.
Right, that's us 3. Can somebody else that's not us 3, that's not a host, check that they can do that?
Yeah,
I can see it as well.
I've got
Hey,
it.
it might be because you're on an iPad, Nadine.
Right, okay, so that's where it is though, so that it'll be where it says next to send to everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
Rachel, I was just going to say something quick. I'll put something in the chat box. That stat you mentioned about 93%. I wrote a post about it it's slightly out of context, but the ratio is right, but it's slightly out of context.
Well, that's fine. It's a good stat anyway, Peter. But the main thing is, if people can't see you, then you're missing out on a shed load of engagement. So, yeah.
There was one question about, do you have any advice on the best microphones?
Yeah,
from
so
Claire?
that's me. So you can see I'm on a headset, and actually it's not always the most comfortable situation. So it's about if anybody uses any standalone microphones.
Yeah, I don't personally. Does anybody else on the call use them?
No.
I've got a nice Microsoft HD webcam which has got a built-in microphone in the top. I bought it pre-lockdown and it was about 35 quid. So
that actually does sound pretty good, Claire, that.
Yeah, it does, but I feel a bit like I'm like on a call centre call or something. It don't feel like I should be interacting, but maybe I just need to get used to it.
Oh, you look fine. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just get used to it. I mean, some people sat there with headphones on or, mics on. It's fine. Yeah, you don't really see it. So, it's fine. Anybody else?
But while you're there, Claire, if I can order a 6 chicken nuggets.
All right, steady on.
Trust you.
Any last questions for Rachel before we move
Bruce has asked, is it different when you're using an iPad or a tablet or a mobile? Things might be in different places. As Nadine just mentioned, you can't download the chat. It should be fairly similar though. Obviously, you'll be seeing people smaller than using on a webcam, but it should function exactly the same way. You should be able to see the chat box.
Anybody here who knows how to do that with an iPad or an iPhone, who's done that previously, who's downloaded the chat using those devices?
I don't think you can download chat like that.
Sorry, Bruce.
I don't think you can download the chat from
Can you not?
a pad or a mobile. I haven't found a way to do it.
No, I don't think you can.
Is there anybody here who would like us to from today, just so you can see what it looks like? Because I can send that out afterwards if you like, so you can look, and then for future reference you can maybe try and use a laptop. Yeah, I can't hear anybody because you're all muted. Put your hand up. I'll do it anyway. So if you don't want to read it, you don't have to. Okay, Nadine, I'll do it. Thank you.
Brilliant. All right. Well, thank you, Rachel. You've got me considering my posture and my positioning in the frame now. I'm so glad I got rid of Ella's pants from that shelf behind me this morning. Thank you so much. Can we have let me switch the screen view so that on the video everyone can see. Let's have a virtual round of applause, please, for Rachel. That concludes the video element. So if you're watching this on YouTube, we're all off to network. You'll have to network on your own. Thank you, Rachel. Please do check chamberlive.co.uk for all future webinars. Bye. Thanks for watching this ChamberLIVE video from the East Lancashire Chamber of Commerce. If you've enjoyed this content, then you might enjoy some of the other content that's on the screen now. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel.